Welcome to this video. In this video, I'm going to show you guys how to make the skirt that you've seen in the thumbnail, and this is a picture of the skirt that we're working on now. I'm not going to show you guys how to sew this because I don't have anybody that would inherit the skirt when I'm through with making it. But yeah, and also I don't think it's a very practical skirt, but I know that a lot of you want to see how to draft it, but I don't think I would make a video on how to sew it. If I find somebody that is very dramatic in future and I'll be able to rock it and use it and rock it with confidence, then maybe I would make a video on how to sew it. But and this video was also requested by a few of my subscribers, so I'm making this video so that I'll be able to sleep at night in peace without you guys worrying my life about it. So let's begin. So the first thing, as you guys have seen, is a regular pencil skirt, which is where we'll start. So the first thing we're going to do is to draft the skirt block. All right, so now another thing you have to notice is that the skirt has a very big band. Okay, that's like a 2-inch band, so we're going to need to recognize that when we are drafting the skirt. Okay, so now the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to keep ½ inch. So from the top edge of my fabric down to where I'm starting my drawing this line I'm about to draw now is ½ inch. Okay, so this is the allowance that you're going to use when you're sewing, when you're adding the band to this. Okay, so now the next thing you're going to do is to place your waist to your hip. Okay, so now what I want you to do is I want you to throw out, I know that you are going to fix a 2-inch band, but I want you to throw out only 1.5. okay, and mark your waist to hip. All right, so waist to hip is going to be 8 inches. If you know that you wear your skirt higher than, from, look at how I threw out the 1.5, I'm placing 1.5 on that line. If you know that you wear your skirt a bit higher, yes, then you can leave it here. If you're a person that wears your skirt around your navel area rather than, a bit lower, you can leave it here and mark your waist to hip at 8 where it's supposed to be. Either ways, it is fine. All right, so if you're a person that likes it, that's to sit a bit lower, make sure to try 1.5. okay, so any weight that you pick will depend on, anyone you pick depends on what you like. All right, so now when I've done that, so I think I'm going to use the hip that's at 8 inches. All right, we're going to roll a line there. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to mark my skirt length. So we're going to start from the very top here all the way down. All right, so if you are like I said before, if you are fixing a band and you wear your skirt a bit lower, you can push out the 1.5 here before you place your skirt length. If you're a person that wants to wear it on your navel, you can keep it on your belly button. You can keep it right there and then mark the skirt length. So the skirt length is 22. So you're going to come down here to 22. I think since this is a theoretical skirt, let me leave the skirt length at 20, or 22 will still be fine. All right, so I come to 20, make a mark across like so. Okay, and then the next thing now is to place all our measurements. So we're going to go back to the top. We're going to come to the waist area. So at the waist area, we have a waist of 30. 30 divided by 4 is 7.5. We're going to come up here. We're going to make a mark at 7.5. The hip is 40. 40 divided by 4 is 10. So I'm going to come here and place 10. Now, most people, when they're making their pencil skirt, like to take the waist and bring it down to the knee and place it there. So now, in most cases, that would work. But if you happen to make this for a person that has a bit of a belly, it's not going to work very well, because it does end up being a straight skirt rather than having some taper after the hip. But how I get the hem of the skirt is I subtract 2 inches from the hip and I place it at the hem. All right, we're going to come to the hem. Okay, whatever I have at the hip, subtract 2 inches and place it down here. So if the hip here is 10, we're going to come down here and place 8. 10 minus 2 is equals to 8, and that's what I have placed down there. Now the next thing is for us to connect all the dots. So I'm going to draw a line to connect the hem to the hip line, and I'm going to draw a line to connect my hip line to my waistline. All right, and then this place is a bit too sharp, so I'm going to try and make a curve here so that that place doesn't point out. Just make it more curvy. Okay, so now the next thing I'm going to do to my pencil skirt pattern is to simply place all my allowances. Okay, now this skirt, if I was making it, would not have a dart in front, so there's no need to do any of the things that we do when we're making a skirt that has a dart by adding more allowance and stuff, because there are going to be a lot of cuts running through the skirt. All those panels that you can see that are hanging loose on the outside be planted into the skirt pattern that we're working with. So I'm going to just keep my allowance of 1.5 everywhere. So I've placed 1.5 at the hem, 1.5 at the hip, 1.5 at the waist. Okay, so I'm going to also do the same thing I did before. Simply roll a line to connect all these points. 1.5 everywhere. All right, now the next thing is I'm going to come down here and I'm going to place my allowance for my hemming. Okay, so if you use 2 inches, keep 2 inches, whatever you're going to use down here, but I advise that you use 2 inches for your hemming, so that by the time you use your lining to turn everything inside, you'll be able to turn you would have enough of the hem to be able to turn everything inside properly. All right, now we have scissors. Now this is what we're going to do at the hem. We're going to first of all cut. Okay, we're going to cut this with some excess, and then we're going to fold that excess underneath, because we're going to turn this with, if I'm going to sew this, I'm going to turn it with lining. And here I'm going to just cut this line. So now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut the back. Now the back and the front are very similar. The only difference that we're going to have is that the front here, we're going to have 2 inches running here. So I'm going to put the paper on the fold still. I'm going to cut exactly the same pattern that you can see here. The only difference is that we're going to have 2 inches in front of here for our zipper allowance. All right, so as you can see here, I have the front and the back underneath. Okay, so we have the back underneath. Now the only difference that you will see between the front and the back is that we have the 2 inches zipper allowance. I hope that you can see the green line that we have running from top to bottom on this side here. Okay, now that is the allowance that we have. All right, so now the only I have to make some changes to the back. We'll come to around where we have the hip line that you can see here, and we'll make a mark. Okay, so now I want you to draw this line all the way out. Okay, and then now you know that I kept 2 inches of allowance for my zipper allowance, so from here to here is 2 inches. Okay, you're going to come to the middle of these 2 inches and make a mark. Okay, so I made a mark at 1 inch at the top, and I'm going to come to the bottom pattern, the bottom of my pattern here too, and I'm going to make a mark at where 1 inch is. Okay, and then I'm going to simply draw a line from the bottom to the top. Okay, and I'm going to connect my hip line to the waistline. Okay, so now it's time for us to start making cuts. So as you have seen, the pattern that we have in the skirt that we're trying to draft has a lot of panels. Okay, inside it. Okay, so now how that is achieved is that we're going to have to make a lot of cuts. Okay, so you see the center line that we have here, we're going to need to make cuts all over the pattern. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start from here. Okay, from the waistline, I'm going to come here. I'm going to make a mark at 2 inches. Okay, after that mark, I'll keep a space again, make another mark at 2 inches. I'm going to repeat this until I get to the end. So when I'm close to the end now, and I know that here I have 1.5. Okay, so I'm going to make a mark at 1.5, and I can see that here too is also 2 inches. So I'm going to stop there. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to roll this 2-inch line from here, from the top here, all the way down. Now when you're done with this, please remember to also do the same thing on the back. Okay, so the same thing we've done here, do the same thing at the back. The only difference is that you have to be mindful of where you have the zipper allowance. So your 2 inches should start from after the zipper allowance. That's where your first 2 inches should start, before the next. All right, when you're done with marking all these points, next thing we're going to do to slice this. I'll slice all of them. So now I'm done cutting all the patterns. Now the next thing is to transfer this to the fabric, but like I told you guys, I'm not going to transfer this to fabric. So let me tell you guys what you're going to do. Please remember, do this exact same thing I've just done to the pattern that we have at the back. Now when you're cutting this on your fabric, okay, as for this pattern here, the two side patterns, this side pattern and this side pattern, when you place this on your fabric, make sure to add half-inch allowance in front of. So you see where this line stops, this line here, make sure to add half-inch allowance everywhere here for this pattern, only on this side. Now we have our sewing allowance on the side here, so there's no need to add it here. But the front of the pattern here, you're going to need to add half an inch from the top all the way down to the bottom, okay? As for these two side patterns, okay, so these two sides are out of the game now. That's what you're going to do when it comes to those patterns. You would not add on this side, you would only add in front of them, okay? Now as for every single panel that sits in between those sides, okay, for the rest of them here, you need to add half-inch of allowance on your fabric here for sewing and half-inch of allowance on this side. The same thing for this one, half-inch here, half-inch here. Repeat that for this side, for all the sides that we have here, okay? Now the next thing is to cut the panels that are supposed to sit in between. All right, the panels that are supposed to sit in between. Now before we get to that, you need a number. Now you see this green line here, from here down, okay, from here to the bottom, this part here, we know that this is zipper allowance, so that's going to be folded underneath, but is the hemming allowance, sorry, so that be folded underneath when we are sewing. You're going to need to measure from the hem that you have here to this half-inch at the waist. So you've seen the half-inch that we have at the waist here. We're going to need to measure from this half-inch at the waist all the way down. All right, so from here all the way to the end here. So as I can see, I have 20 inches. Okay, so 20 inches. Please make sure you hold that number. So make sure you hold that number 20 inches. All right, so let me get the fabric first to cut the other pattern. Remember I told you guys that you should add half-inch on all the sides that are going to sit in between, and that also you should repeat this exact same thing on the back side. Okay, so now that we have done this to this side, the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to have to cut the flay. All right, now remember the 20 inches that we measured, okay, that we measured from here to here, the actual length, okay, without the band, because this half-inch here represents the allowance that we have at the top. Here down, okay, is the band. All right, here down is the skirt. From here up is where the band is going to be attached to. Sorry. So now that we know that the main skirt length is 20, we're going to now cut the flay part. All right, so now to do that, you're going to need to fold. Now this is your fabric. Now normally you fold it like this on a straight fold, but this time you're going to have to fold it into a triangle when you are cutting that part. All right, now okay, you're going to need to fold this into a triangle. All right, so now when you've done that, the next thing you want to do is you're going to come to this edge here. So you see this edge here, this is going to be the edge that's going to sit. This part here will be joined to the skirt, here will be planted inside. So now you guys remember that 20 inches I told you guys about. Make sure that you fold your fabric and that the edge at the top here is really sharp. Okay, now remember that 20 that we measured. You're going to need to use that measurement now. Okay, so you're going to come here and measure 20 inches. Okay, so I've made a mark at 20 inches. Now the next thing you want to do is you want to come here too. Now when you come to here, you are going to subtract 6 inches from 20 inches. You're going to come to 14 inches. Okay, come to 14 inches and you're going to make a mark at 14 inches. All right, and then you're going to roll a line connecting these two pieces, these two parts together. All right, and we're going to simply roll a line connecting the 20 to the 14 that we have up there. When we're done with that, we're going to need to cut this out. Now you see this part here, you're going to need to cut this, okay, this part here for every single space that you have. Okay, so you see this here we have, you see this part here we have the hip, and here we have the first side here. Okay, so you see this part here, this piece here is going to sit in between here and here. Okay, so you can see this already, it's already giving us that look. Okay, so here is going to sit inside here. All right, and you're going to have to cut this for every single slash that you have. So remember when we did when we kept 2 inches, made a mark, 2 inches, made a cut. You're going to need to cut this, and you're going to need to fit this into every single panel that you have that looks like that. All right, so this is a nice easy tutorial to help you guys out on that. I will see you guys in the next video. Have a great day. Bye bye.